Welcome to Authenticate, the industry's first conference dedicated to innovations in modern authentication. My name is Andrew Shikiar. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Marketing Officer at FIDO Alliance, the host organization for Authenticate. We're pleased to be able to spend this time with you over the next few weeks, where you can look forward to hearing real-world FIDO case studies and meeting the people who are working actively behind the scenes to move the world to simpler, stronger authentication. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks also to the broader FIDO community for sharing their expertise during this conference. Also, many thanks are in order to our Authenticate sponsors and also the program committee who've worked together and worked quite diligently to help ensure the best possible Authenticate experience for all of you. Whether you're new to FIDO or a seasoned veteran, there's plenty of great content for you to dig into on this agenda. Also, be sure to visit our expo hall to meet the companies with in-market FIDO solutions that can address a wide array of FIDO deployment use cases. Before we get much further, I think it's fair to ask the question, why are we here? Why is FIDO here? The FIDO Alliance has always had a truly audacious mission, which is to change the nature of user authentication, to move the entire world away from usernames and passwords to a much simpler and stronger way to simply log in with FIDO. Audacious, yes, but given the progress that we've seen over the past several years, suddenly it seems like this goal is doable. The FIDO Alliance started with just a handful of companies armed with a brilliant idea. Today, the FIDO Alliance reflects over 250 organizations working together to lead a global change. This is best reflected by the diverse set of companies on FIDO's board of directors. This is certainly an impressive list of logos, but what this illustrates to me is that virtually every company that we'd like to have working on this problem is indeed sitting at the table. It's great that our board features some of the largest brands on the planet, but what really matters are the types of members we have in the mix. This includes companies creating the platforms and devices that most of us use on a daily basis. It also includes leaders in cybersecurity and biometrics, both longtime stalwarts and innovative startups. And last but not least, it includes service providers whose businesses are completely dependent upon their ability to deliver high assurance services to billions of users worldwide on a daily basis. Collectively, as an organization, we've published 3 sets of FIDO specifications and have certified hundreds of products. We've worked with the W3C to make FIDO technology a web standard, and today, FIDO authentication is built into every major platform and web browser. In fact, over 2 billion devices support FIDO authentication. Companies all over the world are deploying FIDO. In fact, you'll hear from a lot of them throughout the rest of this conference. But none of this means that our work is done. In fact, I would say that we're just getting started. If FIDO's stated goal is to change the nature of authentication, I think it's fair to ask, how are we going to go about making that happen? As it is indeed an audacious objective. In my view, it's very much about building the ecosystem, which first requires some foundational building blocks, which you can then build upon with strategic elements that will accelerate growth and adoption. Let's take a look at these pieces, what we've accomplished, and what still needs to be done. The first foundational aspect is to build robust, open, and market-proven specifications for simpler, stronger authentication. Specifications that vendors can build to and service providers can deploy. To that end, FIDO quite rapidly released initial specifications at the end of 2014 to address both biometric and second factor use cases. Shortly thereafter, these specs were put into products and reached market in services from many leading brands such as PayPal, Google, and NTT Docomo. Most recently, of course, we've introduced FIDO 2, which features the Web Authn protocol developed in conjunction with W3C, the standardization body for the web itself. All of FIDO specs are built upon the same principles of usability, security, and privacy preservation. The next foundational component is to foster a B2B ecosystem. Specifications alone are not sufficient, no matter how robust they may be. In fact, I like to say that specifications alone are like one hand clapping. For them to be truly actionable, you need to make sure that A, products are built accurately against these specifications, and B, most importantly, that these products interoperate with each other and work together. This is what unlocks the value of open standards for companies implementing the specifications, which in turn is what creates opportunity for vendors building products that include the specifications. And this is why we launched a FIDO Certified program in 2015, a program that continues to grow at a rapid clip. It provides enterprises deploying FIDO authentication with a variety of future-proofed options to protect their customers, employees, and other valuable corporate assets. The last foundational component for FIDO, or really any network-centric technology, is to create or jumpstart the addressable user base. Why do passwords persist? It's because they're readily available on every device and every web browser. For FIDO to be successful, we needed to make FIDO authentication just as ubiquitous. And that's why we worked with the W3C to make FIDO authentication a web standard with the Authn API. As a result, support for FIDO is now built into the Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Safari web browsers. Additionally, both Google and Microsoft submitted their leading device platforms for FIDO certification. This means that you can now use on-device biometrics on virtually any Android 7 or later handset or any Windows 10 PC with Windows Hello instead of relying on passwords. Thanks to this industry collaboration and adoption, we now see over 2 billion devices in market that support FIDO authentication. So that's what the FIDO Alliance has done since our launch in 2013, helping move FIDO from a whiteboard vision to an active movement that truly is at the precipice of changing the nature of user authentication. Now, what's next? How's FIDO Alliance going to help build on the strong foundation to help us achieve our goal of changing the nature of user authentication? First, we're working across our ecosystem to establish market demand. We know that FIDO will gain the widest adoption if we put consistent and accurate education and imagery into the market. This is why we created the iMark, for an easy and identifiable way to showcase that a service or application uses FIDO authentication. We anticipate that service providers will start using this mark and related visual cues in increasing numbers. We also created loginwithfido.com to give service providers the tools they need to provide high-level education both internally within their organizations and externally to their customers. Let's take a look at an example.
Passwords are a pain. They're a hassle for customers and employees to manage, and they're a liability for your organization. All of those password resets cost you money, directly, every day. Plus, they expose you to data breaches, which can cost you even more money and damage your reputation. Your customers feel the pain too. The average internet user has to juggle up to 90 different passwords. No wonder frustrated users abandon their carts. Some just use the same passwords over and over again. Risky behavior for them and for you. Ready for the good news? There is a better way, easier and safer. You can protect your brand with a technology called FIDO. FIDO is a standard that allows security technology to be built directly into any device. With FIDO, users can securely sign into any website without relying on a password. Like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, FIDO is supported on devices that people use every day, such as smartphones, personal computers, tablets, or smartwatches. FIDO lets users log in with a simple fingerprint or face scan, or the touch of a security key. FIDO is also safe. Thanks to public key cryptography, sensitive login information resides securely on a user's device, nowhere else. FIDO is bad news for cybercriminals. It prevents even the most sophisticated phishing attacks. They can't steal users' passwords and take over accounts because you don't rely on passwords. You use FIDO. With FIDO, logging in goes from frustrating to easy, and from risky to fully secure. Now, instead of annoying your customers or losing them, you make them happy. And happy customers are good for business. The worldwide tech industry is working together to make FIDO the future of logins, and many large service providers are already using it to protect their customers. The FIDO iMark tells users they can log in quickly and easily. Passwords? Who needs them? FIDO logs your users in without the liability of passwords. Safe and easy, saving you a lot of headaches and improving your bottom line. Learn more today at loginwithfido.com.
Wanting to deploy FIDO isn't enough, which is why we're working to facilitate service development by empowering developers and FIDO professionals. Authn presents developers for the first time with a public API they can use to add FIDO authentication to their websites and web services. To help accelerate this initiative, we're actively partnering with the W3C's Authn Community Adoption Group to engage and empower web framework and website developers. Integrators are also sensing the FIDO market opportunity. We see them building FIDO into their practices or creating standalone authentication initiatives. We'll continue to engage and work with these firms. FIDO is also developing some professional training and certification concepts that we'll be sharing with you all in the near future. The point here is that FIDO Alliance as an organization is working to catalyze and accelerate deployment of FIDO authentication. And finally, we're working to establish and reinforce deployment best practices and user experience flows that will maximize user adoption. First, we have working groups building best practice guidelines and documentation based on their real-world experience of deploying FIDO to protect millions of users around the world. Secondly, we're actively testing and establishing best approaches to user experience. While FIDO is certainly stronger and simpler, it still is a new paradigm that requires new user behaviors. So we're aiming to develop and provide a concise set of guidelines that service providers can implement against for their FIDO deployments. None of this is being done in a vacuum. This is all being developed by experts. So if you're an expert and/or if you've got opinions, consider this to be a call for action, as now is a great time to get engaged. Of course, the backdrop to all of this is a world that has changed significantly from just a year ago, to say the very least. That's why all of you are watching this from your desktop rather than being together in person as we'd originally planned. COVID-19 has turned digital transformation from a buzzword loosely associated with hand-wavy 5-year plans to a massive imperative to get complete in just 5 months. COVID's impacts are well documented, and I think we can all relate to becoming zombies. One thing for certain, however, is that the growth in remote workforces has also created a new, soft, and highly attractive target to hackers, which is why there's been a massive spike in phishing attempts. COVID-19 has also disrupted virtually every consumer-facing industry, especially those in brick and mortar. For example, banks have had to sort out how to support the lingering segment of their customers that still do or did business in branch rather than online. These are people who suddenly need to rely on apps or online services, making them primed for phishing or other cyber attacks. While COVID has thrown just about everyone's development timelines out of whack, FIDO stands to provide banks and other businesses a strong and secure cornerstone for digital transformation. For example, giving them a mechanism to move offline customers to online tools in a way that is easy yet safe, thereby protecting them from phishers and other bad actors. I hope I've made it clear that now is the time to be building out your FIDO plans and that Authenticate is the place for you to figure out how to move forward. So before I wrap up, a few calls to action for you to consider as you head into Authenticate. Are you thinking about deploying FIDO? If so, use this time to see what others are doing, meet with vendors in our expo hall, and network with your peers. Are you adding FIDO to your product? Be sure to learn about the FIDO Certified program, a critical component for a growing number of RFPs. Are you a developer? If so, get ready to get busy, as there's a world of opportunity out there for you. Check out the FIDO 101 and the Authn Lunch and Learns and other topics in our technical content blogs. Are you interested in learning more about FIDO Alliance as an organization? Come check out our booth to learn about considerations for membership, or also how to leverage other programs that we're providing to the industry. Last but not least, make sure to have some fun. No, we're not in Seattle, and I'm sure you're multitasking between video calls, homeschooling your kids, and simply trying to stay sane. But we've worked quite hard to create not just awesome content, but also a good overall experience. So please do try to block a few hours each day throughout the week, not just to attend the sessions, but to check out the expo and the networking room. And if you miss a session or two, don't sweat it. It'll all be on demand after the initial air date. And like any proper conference, we've got swag, very limited edition swag. Just visit the right number of expo booths and we'll get you this t-shirt and sock combo sent to the physical address of your choice. So thanks, and I'm honored now to turn things over to our featured keynote speaker, Dr. Whitfield Diffie.